Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Very
good morning, Dr. Sasmita, right?
Dr. Sasmita Mohanty. You are
Oh,
Dr.
no.
Abbasi.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Basim.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Let me assign you as a host. So you will be the co-host today, and also you will help to be the chair of this session 4. So let's wait for other people to join.
Thank you.
Welcome to Smart Cyber 2020. So everything is fine. Are you in India, right?
I'm in India. I'm in Bhubaneswar. Yes, I'm in India.
Okay, great.
So you are in Seoul?
Yeah, I am in Kyongdong University in South Korea. Assistant professor in Smart Computing Department.
Yes.
With Prof. Absi, if you know Prof. Absi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, sir, you are the one who is sending us all the mails, right?
No, this is another one. The general chair, that is Prof. Absi.
Okay. There are two of us.
Yeah, there is
Thank
Absi. His name is Absi. My name is Absi. Can you hold this up? So far, nobody show up from the presenters.
There's still 15 minutes time.
Yeah, I think we have to give them 5 minutes. You know, they are from different countries, and there is a time difference now between Korea and their countries. What is the time now in India?
6:04 in the morning.
Oh, quite early for you, right?
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me as a co-host.
No, I should thank you and welcome you to this Smart Cyber 2020 conference. I really appreciate your presence today, and welcome. So if you like next, I mean, when the people start or before they start the presentation, I just would like to ask you to introduce yourself to them. Okay. Okay.
Should I do it now? Or?
So let's wait, and because nobody. Okay. Professor Sasmita, so far
Yes, sir.
there is one presenter with
Sir?
easy chair paper ID 39. So do you think we can start?
Yes, of course.
So please open the session. It is the mic is for you now.
Okay. I am Dr. Satsmita Mohanty. Let me introduce myself. Good morning to the presenters. Good morning, Dr. Wasim. Uh,
Mm.
I am Dr. Satsmita Mohanty. I am a faculty associate professor from Shiksha Anusandhan University, Bhubaneswar, and I am in the Faculty of Management Department. Uh, I'm looking forward. I my extend on the onset. I extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers, Dr. Basim and Dr. Prasant Patnaik, Professor Patnaik, and all the organizers for including me as a co-session. And also, I thank all the presenters. And at the onset, the papers look awesome as research initiatives. All the papers in this session are looking very promising to me. At the beginning, looking at the abstract or looking at the papers, the titles, they seem awesome. So I'm looking forward to a great session ahead. Thank you so much, Dr. Basim.
Thank you, Professor Smita. We are also happy to have you here, and
Thank you.
it's really a great honor to be with you and to be a co-chair with you in this event. And also
Very
for the
kind of you,
present,
sir.
for the
Very kind of you.
presenters, let me introduce myself also to the presenters. My name is Basim. I'm assistant professor at the Smart Computing Department of Kyongdae University Global Campus in South Korea. So if you can hear me, the presenter of the paper ID 39. So I think you have to unmute. He got disconnected. Again, this is a problem. I think the internet connection there. Anyway, we have to wait for them.
Dr. Basim, I must
Yes.
congratulate you with a large-scale organization of a web conference like this. This is huge conference. This is so many papers, so many presenters, and so many sessions. I must congratulate you that this is very good initiative from your university.
Thank you. This is without your help, without your contribution, we cannot organize such kind of conference. So thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. So the first presenter, Dima, can you hear me? Dima?
I think presenter 10 and 39 both are present.
Yeah, they are. So I don't know why they unmute themselves. So presenter 39, can you please?
Yes, Mr. Good morning, Mr.
Yeah, good morning. So we have also, yeah, we have 3 presenters right now. Welcome to Smart Cyber 2020.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
So,
morning, presenters. Welcome to the forum.
Good morning, Miss Sasmita.
Yes. Thank you.
so far we have 3 presenters till now. So are you ready, presenter 39?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, so let me assign you as a co-host, then you can start sharing your screen and introduce yourself and also your research work. Okay.
Right now, Mr.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I'm prepared. Wait a moment, Mr.
Okay.
Good morning, Dr. Bahim and Dr. Sasmita.
Yeah. Good morning.
But
I am Gustita Arnawati Putri from Indonesia. This is my paper with the title, The Application of the Technology Acceptance Model to Assess the Role of Complexity Toward Customer Acceptance on Mobile Banking. This paper I read with my friends, Aryani Wahyu Wijayanti from Indonesia too, and Kurnia Rina Aryani from Indonesia. Research objective. This study wants to prove complexity role, an external variable in accepting to the use mobile banking using the TAM model framework. The background is, number one, information technology is currently developing very fast, on which one of which is evidenced by the rapid use of cell phones, or commonly known as mobile phones or smartphone. The other background, the Indonesian people's positive response to this development is implicit in the result of the Vintage Financial Forum meeting, which explained that digital economic growth in Indonesia is 5 times faster than the global average, the most rapid. The background number 3 is based on data from the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. Indonesia ranks fourth as the biggest diligent smartphone user in the world. The other background, the positive community response to information and the technological development in the form of the extensive use of the smartphone provides an open opportunity for the banking sector to put mobile banking in hand as a part of people's daily life. Advantaged by Google Play Store for the Android system and Apple Store for iOS system users. The other background, the banking service in hand, namely electronic banking or e-banking and mobile banking, aims to increase client access to banking products and transaction in easy. Still the background, M-banking serves as a facility available on mobile communication device such mobile phones, provides benefits for several parties such as their customers and the bank itself. The other background, for the customers, M-banking service convenience to them at banking transaction, balance checking, money transfer, and so on, which previously delivered manually by personnel attending in the bank. These cut-offs activities considered as time and cost savers. The last background, likewise, the benefits for the bank as a stakeholder, new business models, business expansion, competitive advantage, customer loyalty, revenue and cost improvement, and fee-based income. This is the model of technology acceptance model, or we similarly with TAM. This is perceived usefulness, perceived easy of use, attitude toward using, behavior, intention to use, and perceived usage. In this paper, hypothesis framework like this, like in the picture, adding external variable complexity. Hypothesis in the paper. Hypothesis number 1, perceived use affects perceived usefulness in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 2, perceived usefulness influence attitude toward using in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 3, perceived easy of use affects attitude toward using in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 4, attitude toward using influence behavioral intention to use in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 5, perceived usefulness influence behavioral intention to use in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 6, behavioral intention to use affect the perceived usage in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 7, perceived usefulness influence perceived usage in implementing mobile banking. Hypothesis number 8, complexity influence perceived usefulness in implementing mobile banking. And the last hypothesis number 9, complexity influence perceived usage in implementing mobile banking. The next is research methods. Population, in this case, the intended research population is bank customer in Indonesia who stands as mobile banking service user in Indonesia. For the sample, determinant sample were customers of Bank Sentral Asia or BCA, Bank Rakyat Indonesia or BRI, Bank Mandiri, and Bank Negara Indonesia or BNI. The accidental sampling method was chosen as the non-probability sampling technique applied by meeting respondents by coincidence coverage to the researcher during data gathering activities. The next, exogenous contract. Within this study, complexity is the exogenous construct, which defines as the perceived difficulty level of computer technology to be understood and used by their users. Roger and Schumacher, 1971. The next, endogenous construct. In this study, endogenous construct involved perceived easy of use, perceived usefulness, attitude toward using, behavior, intention to use, and perceived usage. This is the result for goodness of fit model. From the result, all the model are fit. The next, the result of regression weight. The next is discussion. Hypothesis 1, prove a significant positive relationship in line with the previous research by Chow and Davis et al. At 1989 state that perceived ease of use has a positive effect on perceived usefulness. Discussion number 2, perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use shows that influence attitude toward using since it shows significant positive result. This result support the previous research by Sachna, Malhotra and Galeta, Vijaya Sarasati, Pikarainen et al., Hung, Chang and Yu, Govinda Raju and Indriani, Ngai et al., Kusuma and Susilawati, Saade et al., Lu et al., Bukembe, Sulistiarini, and the last Chauhan at 2015. Discussion number 3, attitude toward using and perceived usefulness influence behavioral intention to use, since the PET coefficient shows in a positive result. The result of previous study indicate that attitude toward using it is positive influence behavioral intention to use as the previous study shows, like Matheson, Malhotra, Tan and Theo, Chow and Hua, Lee Ju-hyun, Sih and Fang, Gurung, Hung Chang and Yu, and the last Tyler and Todd and Sun in 2003. The next discussion, behavioral intention to use and perceived usefulness affects perceived usage. This result support the previous study by Jogianto at 2007 that perceive use if you have a behavioral intention to use to do it. Similar to Sun's research finding 2003 previously that perceived usefulness is the most significant construct determines the perceived usage. The next discussion, testing the external hypothesis, complexity as an independent variable to perceive usefulness and perceive usage resulted in significant negative result. There is a strong relationship between complexity and perceived usage. Gardner and Amroso 2004 and Igbaria et al. Conclusion, the number 1 is this finding confirmed that the critical role of perceived benefits felt in publishing the use of M-banking and shows the basis of a strategic decision to use M-banking. The next conclusion, this is an explanation that individuals are expected to have a positive attitude in using mobile banking if they believe that it will improve their reputation and productivity. The next conclusion, however, the finding that complexity negatively impact on the use of mobile banking in daily life shows that people are reluctant to it, especially for customers in developing countries. The next conclusion, this form of hesitance to complexity on mobile banking application regarding its complicated user interface assumes that there is a low community interest to learn a new thing, even it is potentially will convince them in the future when they already get familiar with the intended application. Thank you.
So, Prof. Sasmita, would you please unmute your mic because we cannot hear you, and please start the discussion.
Thank you, presenter. I think this is a very promising paper. I think application of TAM model in complexity towards customer acceptance. Acceptance is again and again important in the face of 4G, 5G, etc. Continuously, improvement of technology. So mobile acceptance, mobile banking is a huge market, and therefore this makes a lot of sense. How many of your hypotheses have got confirmed is something we could not see in the last segment, and whether your hypothesis has been, rejected any of them, and what is the model that you used other than regression model is something I would like to know. But at the onset, it looks very promising. You can improve this paper and actually, publish it as a research paper. Congratulations to you, presenter.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Sasmita. Yeah, I also agree with Professor Sasmita about the hypothesis. Even when you state the hypothesis, you just mentioned about the effect, but you didn't mention either positive or negative. So usually when we state the hypothesis, such kind of hypothesis is, we can use the directional hypothesis. We use positive, negative, less, more, this kind of keywords, because we just assume that there is a influence or effect, but also we expect one direction, either positive or negative. But in your case, you made it non-directional. So, and also in the sample size,
Yes.
you didn't mention about the size of the sample, how many people you collect data from them, about the sample, the size of the sample, how many people.
200
200
people.
And also the data collection method. So what kind of, did you distribute survey or questionnaire to them, or?
Questionnaire, Mr.
So yeah,
by Google Form.
Yeah, okay. So also you need to explain the how did you collect the data, because even the survey now, it can be self-administrated, means that you will personally administer the survey by distributing to the people, or you can share it with Google form or electronic form method. Yeah. So again, as this kind of thing, it should be clearly mentioned in your research about the also the model. So you could extend the explanation of your model, especially about the variables. So we have dependent variable and we have the independent variables, and we might have some moderating and mediating variables. So for now, I think I think you need to a little bit extend that model explanation. When you introduce the model, is most important to people, that they know what are the variables, what is the independent one, what is the dependent one, how they are related to each other, why you think they are related to each other. So you have to justify the relationship between these variables in your model. But yeah, it's nice work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah, so if anybody from the presenters have any question about this presentation, please go ahead with your questions. And also thank you for your time management. So you have 15 minutes, so you manage it precisely. Thank you so much. So if there is no more questions, I might ask Professor Sasmita to call the second presenter.
Yes. So the second presenter, we have presenter, since I can only see the numbers, the number of presenter number 38. Can please proceed with your presentation is probably on determinants of internet financial reporting for investor decision making, evidence
Yeah.
from Indonesia companies. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to this paper.
Okay,
Welcome on
thank
board
you.
with to the forum.
Thank you, Professor, to having me here. I'll start with the presentation. Wait a moment, please.
Proceed.
Yes.
Is the presenter presenting? I am
So
unable to see the
she can start. She can share her. You can share your. Okay, she's.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, good morning. My name is Kurnia Rina Aryani. You can call me Rina. I'm from Indonesia. Today I would like to present my paper called for the determinants of internet financial reporting for investor decision making, evidence from Indonesian companies. Okay, together with my friend Gustita, I wrote this paper. Let's see for the background. First, full disclosed information plays an important role in representing management transparency and accountability in conducting the business. Then, during these 3 past decades, internet becomes an alternative media used by entities to disseminate any information to their stakeholder worldwide. This alternative media is a paperless-based reporting system and is often called as Internet Financial Reporting, or later I will call it IFR. Traditionally, entities use a paper-based reporting system to share any information to their stakeholder. Some of entities adopt IFR based on a certain motives, such as to publish more updated information to increase efficiency and effectiveness and to reduce information asymmetry as well. IFR is one example of entities' voluntary disclosure. In certain developing countries, such as in Indonesia, this type of disclosure has not been formally regulated. To achieve good corporate governance, corporate governance is needed to support a more transparent disclosure by a strong regulation that can avoid financial disclosure from any possible misstatement. Let's move to the research objective. There have been many empirical tests conducted by previous researchers regarding what factors affect IFR, but only a few researchers added moderating variable in their research. Thus, our research focuses on adding the commissioner variable as a moderating variable to see whether this variable can strengthen the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. So for the research objective, we analyze the effect of profitability, company's age, and audit quality on internet financial reporting with Board of Commissioners as a moderating variable in Indonesian companies, so we can predict the determinants of IFR in developing countries in this digital era. So this is our hypothesis. We can see from the picture that we can hypothesize that the greater and the longer companies operate, it is expected that the greater the profit generated by supported the good governance, and also will affect how much the company will publish financial statement through IFR to attract investor. Then, when the company is audited by one of Big Four public accounting firm and supported by good corporate governance, the greater financial information will be published through the company's website because the company has a guarantee to investor that their financial statements are audited by a trusted accounting firm. We move to research method about data for this research. We collected 154 annual reports in 2018 from manufacturing companies that listed in Indonesia Stock Exchange. And hypothesis testing is performed through a moderated regression analysis or MRA. Move to variable measurement for the dependent variable. We have 4 criteria. First, we need to see the content. First, the content of the financial statement have a rating criteria of 40%. If financial information is disclosed in HTML format, the score is rated higher at 2 points compared to the PDF format at 1 point. This is because technology user in the form of HTML format make it easier for user to access information effectively. Then, second, for the criteria timelines, we have 20% for this. For disclosure of press release and stock price, there is added value to the information. And we need to give such on scale from 0 to 3. Then the company also received a score for disclosure the latest quarterly result audited and company vision statement, future forecast statement. For the technology index, we put 20% to this. Technology use include items that cannot be provided by the report printed, include download plugins, online feedback, usage, presentation slide, or they will use of multimedia technology such as audio and video. Yes, moreover, they can use features such as XBRL. The last one, the fourth criteria, we use user support. We put 20% also with this. Then availability of navigation, FAQ, links to the main page, links to the top, sitemap, search site, and the number of clicks to get the financial information. For this variable independent, we have 3 variable independent here. The first one is profitability. We measure it with ROA, then company's age, years of observation to year of established. Then we have our audit quality with dummy measurement, 0 for company with didn't use the Big Four affiliated public accounting firm, and 1 if the company used Big Four affiliate public accounting firm. Then we use also variable moderating, board of commissioners. We measure it with total of board commissioners. And let's see for the statistic result. Here we know that adjusted R square only 5.6%, means that only 5.6% can be explained by, IFR can be explained by variable of profitability, audit quality, and company's age together with the moderating variable board of commissioner. Then from the T values, I don't see any supported hypothesis in my research, so all the hypothesis is rejected. I will explain with the reason in the conclusion. Okay, so conclusion in my research, IFR is a tool used for companies to share financial and non-financial information with their stakeholders. This study failed to find evidence that there is a relationship between profitability, company's age, audit quality that is moderated by good corporate governance on IFR. It gives a signal even though companies in Indonesia have high profit, sound control system, and reliable auditors, but instead not to overly utilize technology to attract potential investor to invest in their companies. It is understandable because investors themselves are more confident to visit the local authority website, such as the Indonesian Stock Exchange, to obtain information about the financial statement of an audited company, thereby reducing the company's effort to optimize the current technology to facilitate access to the availability of financial reports on their website. Let's move to the limitation. There are several limitations. One is this research only use manufacturing company, and the period also only in 2018. So the result only represent condition in that period. So suggestion to the next research, please use not only manufacturing company, but use all companies listed on IDX, then use other period to get the more accurate result. Okay, thank you. That's all my presentation. Okay, thank you, Prof.
Dr. Basim, am I?
Yeah, it's you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Ms. Ariana, this is a good paper, financial reporting and audit quality especially is very important. Many companies forget that, and maintenance of that audit quality becomes a problem, and in a especially business crisis situation, this is completely overridden. Therefore, this paper is important. Internet financial reporting is even more important, considering usage of information technology in almost all the manufacturing companies now. So therefore, I would like you to concentrate more on the interpretations of your findings that you found from the regression models. So good that you have used MRA for this, but I would like you to have your own interpretations on why this hypothesis were particularly rejected. What are the scenario which is why particular hypothesis you should have mentioned. I mean, of course, I like the way you have kept your time frame and everything. But why each hypothesis, when it fails, of course it is allowed, but what is your interpretation of particular hypothesis failing?
Okay, yes.
So that is something I would like you to concentrate on. This is what makes a researcher a great researcher, when the researcher has phenomena which is explaining the result of the researchers. So congratulations, your paper is very good paper, very good research initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now we have two presenters 10. So would you please let me know why both of you use the same presenter ID? Are you going to present the same paper? I mean, together?
Yes.
Uh,
We have two members to present our paper.
Yeah.
So we will switch in the middle of elaboration of our paper.
okay. Then let me assign you as a co-host so that you can share your screen.
Yes.
Welcome, Banji.
Yes,
Yeah, may I know your easy chair paper ID?
14. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
14, 14.
Okay. Okay, you will be the next. Okay. So now we are going to presenter of the paper of blockchain technology to support employee recruitment and selection in Industrial Revolution 4. So please start.
I'm sorry, I can't share my screen. My friend said that she can share her
No,
screen.
you are co-host, so you can do it. So another one also, she can.
Wait a minute.
Try. Dima or Rihmandinda. So can you hear me? Because we cannot hear anything from your side.
Yes, wait. We are still working on this.
Okay.
Sorry. Wait.
Okay, we start the presentation. Thank you for the welcome to us, Dr. Basam Al-Atawi, Dr. Saspita Mohanty as the panelists of this session. Good morning, everyone. We hope we are all in good condition given the current situation is quite difficult during the COVID-19 pandemics.
We will share our presentation with the members. So in the middle of elaboration of our paper, we will switch. And I'm Happy Ramananda and my friends Tina Rolina Simbolon. We will present our paper that entitled Blockchain Technology to Support Employee Recruitment and Selection in Industrial Revolution 4.0.
Okay, the first thing that I will mention is the introduction. The entry of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 era, where the digital era continues to develop, is no exception in the system of employee recruitment at companies. The limited manual recruitment method has begun to be abandoned and shift to a more efficient digital-based recruitment trend, and everything will change into an integrated system. We can call is it a blockchain. Next. Blockchain is a technological breakthrough that creates trust through consensus by ensuring that all parties authorized to access the blockchain agree with any addition that makes so that the data is created to be valid. In the digital or HRM context, there is potential to improve the process of human resource management using the blockchain for job screening, sharing deals, and verification of education contract and work payments. That is, individual data such as education and work history can be stored and interact safely in digital ledger in real time. This is an innovation that can raise high expectation for human resource management so that every organization successfully adopt and applies it in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Next. But actually, this blockchain technology has begun to develop, and researchers have begun to explore the possibility of this technology being applied to the human research function. This article focuses on the implementation or application of blockchain technology in its function in the field of human resource management, especially in the process of recruitment and selection of employees in the company. Okay, next. The second, I would like to explain about blockchain for recruitment tools. Recruitment and selection is one of the most important things in a company because this process involves the selection and placement of the most appropriate employees among the best for the continuity of the company's activity in creating company's value. Such activities must produce the desired set of candidates, increase their interest, and be integrated in the organization as employers, and increase the likelihood that they will receive job offers. The recruitment and manual selection process still has many shortcomings because the result of the process obtained are still not in accordance with reality and require a long time in the data verification process. Step of recruitment that are too long also make the assessment process and decision taken take a long time. In the manual recruitment process, generally still requires a third people in making decision, and that will also add to the company cost. Employee data that has entered the company system is usually the previous data, and the last data is only stored in software, but the resilience of stored data is less effective because the software contains a lot of data, which will result in software overload and data can be lost. Okay, next, the cost during the recruitment process is also much cheaper and efficient. For the example, there are prospective employee who register and 5 years previously had worked in the same company. If through the manual method, it could be that the data has been lost. But with blockchain, everything can be tracked easily. The data verification process is guaranteed considering the authenticity of the prospective employee profile is one of the most important things. The long process that has been done manually can be replaced with digital verification. The emergence of blockchain technology in the digital era can minimize the disadvantage of using manual recruitment in order to produce quality prospective employees. Unlike the old recruitment system that relies on manual record, in the blockchain, everything is digitally connected. Okay, in the first step, prospective employee must register themselves by registering a curriculum vitae into the company blockchain. Prospective employees are directed to fill in the registration form and input their data and CV on the company's blockchain website. After submitting, the prospective employee will automatically get a code from the system. Blockchain will check the validity of the input data by matching the code, and if a discrepancy is found between the data codes with one another, the blockchain will automatically declare that the data is invalid. Therefore, the data input by employees must be in accordance with the reality of the prospective employee identity. This, of course, reduces the risk of data fraud and increases the time efficiency of data validation. Furthermore, when the data has been submitted, prospective employee cannot replace the data unless there is a consensus between the prospective employee and the company. Okay, next slide will be explained by my partner, Happy Remanande.
So furthermore, blockchain can also streamline the administrative process of prospective employees accurately and in real time. According to the Higher Ed Employment Screening Benchmark report in 2019, 84% of applicants specified data on their resumes. Blockchain-based credential verification system can help reduce the system spent during background checks, reduce fraud, and build more trust in recruitment ecosystem. Tailored data of prospective employees who enter the system will be validated using blockchain technology between companies and agencies that issue files and certificates. The certificate issuer can automatically verify it automatically without the company asking for it. For example, validation of prospective employees, college data, work experience, industry, educational history, self-identity, and so on using the blockchain. And blockchain directly gets data that is very real-time and accurate because in this system, data cannot be replaced or falsified without the knowledge and agreement of the blockchain users involved. This means that the blockchain can minimize fraud or falsification of data by prospective employees even though they have collaborated with agencies, governments, and so on. When a prospective employee includes data stating that he is the fresh graduate of a University A who graduated at the end of the year, the blockchain can detect the recorded data code, which means there is a mismatch between the data code input by the prospective employee and the data code that is in the university blockchain system A. Furthermore, the blockchain found the prospective employee was still a student and was scheduled to graduate at the beginning of the following year. Although the prospective employee cooperates with the university, the code on the blockchain is confidential and cannot be known and changed without any consensus between all elements of the blockchain. Moreover, any changes made are also recorded in the system automatically and are permanent. In the blockchain system, the equality of recruitment and human resource management activities is ensured by machines. This system can handle, store, validate, and rank information with complete transparency and security. The security of a blockchain system cannot be easily violated by hacking or system manager. Because the blockchain system is protected by multiple layered keys and has encryption where the risk of information leakage and data change is very low. Because this system is distribution, so changes in information can be easily tracked and original data can be retrieved. And the next stage of using blockchain is to make decision process faster. So blockchain technology simplifies and accelerates the decision-making process in the selection recruitment process. In the process of finding the truth of the prospective employees data already use sophisticated technology and does not need to use a third party to search for data to go to agencies, companies, and governments to find the truth. The blockchain can store employment contract information such as applicants' electronic signature, payroll details, security access codes, performance reports, and even psychometrics. Blockchain technology automatically verifies the correctness of its data through blockchain agencies, companies, and governments. Blockchain's working time in data search takes approximately 7 seconds to find out the truth. In theory, a candidate can be hired immediately and even get a contract if their payroll number is set in a glance. Thus, the company can immediately see the result of the real-time data obtained and can immediately make decisions as to who is determined as an employee who passes. The application of blockchain technology enables companies and prospective employees to obtain and find out the results of the selection and the recruitment process faster, with a short data input and validation stage. Company can quickly onboard prospective employees who have data defects. And furthermore, companies can use the blockchain system to make decisions directly with the validity of personal data and competencies of prospective employees who have been confirmed. Then the system can directly communicate to the prospective employee whether he is accepted or rejected. And the implementation of the blockchain system allows human resource management to put employees in the right position and field. Reporting from a career survey conducted in 2014 Nearly 60% of job seekers misrepresent themselves on their resumes. This fact is certainly surprising for the company, but with the blockchain technology, it allows the recruitment team to have instant, accurate, and complete access to all the potential and work history of the employees. The truth of prospective employee data obtained from the blockchain technology can be used as a reference for placing employees in their field. For example, the data of prospective employee A, who is graduate of a well-known university with a GPA of 3.9 and gets good grades in accounting courses, then the prospective employee A can be employed or placed in a corporate finance. And company can trust data obtained by the blockchain system, which can also be used as a reference for decision making and employee placement in accordance with their field. So based on those tools, it can be concluded that human research management must begin to adopt this technology in line with the development of technologies in formulating their digital strategies. Assessing the potential of the blockchain in increasing efficiency and effectiveness must be considered along with the wider implication of future work. Eventually, employers will have a stronger and more trusted talent pool to recruit, and candidates will know that they don't waste their time to recruit job searches. Through the blockchain, the human research department can introduce trust and transparency back to a broken system and meet the upcoming global talent shortage. In the blockchain era, recruiters will be challenged to create more value than before, but they will also have better tools to help it make it happen. The next right step is to start making prototypes that can develop into proof of concept or POCs, and which will target high value cases. It can be concluded that blockchain is a technology that has developed in human research field. If the goal is more complete and more cost-effective recruitment process, then it's time to use blockchain. The race to seize competitive advantage through the blockchain has begun, and human research function must participate in the race, or the race may be left behind. And so that's it. That's our paper. And if you all have something to ask, just feel free to ask.
Thank you so much. Dr. Sasmita, if you have any question, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wasim. Thank you, presenters, Dima and Ms. Happy, for letting us think for the first time about blockchain and its impact on recruitment and selection. Congratulations! It's a new upcoming topic. It's not worked on because there is no evidence-based research available at this time on blockchain and its impact on selection and recruitment procedure. What my suggestion instead of a question for you would be that since this is a conceptual paper, the concepts you have brought out very elaborately, yes, and we are happy on that. I would also like you to develop a model for your concepts. For example, you have discussed about the recruitment process, and uh, for the selection, you have only talked about the screening till the screening process. I would like you to think how blockchain would be more than affecting more than the screening process in selection. So once this blockchain is, we understand it is foolproof, and the data cannot be falsified, and there are multi-pronged data validation, nodes wherein data is getting fed from different quarters. So it is not possible to forge data. Understood? But how will it affect the selection procedure also? And when you are making a conceptual uh, model, make it as in what all are the sites that you're looking as inputs and outputs for recruitment and selection procedure. After all, before blockchain is introduced. For example, what are the prototypes you are thinking of? What is the in the process of recruitment, how is data validated, etc. So this will give you if you give a model, it gives a conceptual understanding. It makes the conceptual understanding even further clearer uh, to the reader or the world with a better research kind of understanding. Thank you so much, Ms. Dima, and
Thank
Ms.
you.
Congratulations. Good
Thank
paper.
you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sasmita, and thank you to the presenters. It's interesting topic. Really, I like it so much. So as Dr. Sasmita told that it would be better if you could model your concepts, because this process or any process, it should be fully flow chart, because there is sequence step by step. So I suggest or I recommend you to add this flow chart to show the flow of the process, step number 1, step number 2, and so on. That it will make it easy for people to understand when they look at at your model. And as you mentioned about the validation, so you showed that there are 84% of the people or of the applicants, they provide inaccurate data in their CV. So, and then this model or the blockchain will validate the data of the applicants between the company and also the agencies or the universities that issued the certificates. But if the university or if the any or agency doesn't register or they don't have any you cannot you don't have any access to their data to validate the certificate or the information provided by the applicants. So what will be the alternative in this case? So if you have no access to the database of that university or or the agency from which the applicants have certificates, so what will be the alternative in this case? Not all universities, not all agencies will be part of the blockchain. So we should think about one alternative in that case. Yeah, this is my comment about it. So is there any question from other presenters? No? Okay, then let me ask Dr. Sasmita to invite the next presenter.
Welcome to the forum, all the new presenters who have joined in right now. I would like to invite presenter 14, Panji Rahmat, and your paper is on yes, Android-based online attendance application. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your opportunities. Good morning, all. Is my voice loud and clear? Okay, thank you. Wait. Okay, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Basim Al-Atwari and Dr. Sasmita Mohanty for the opportunities that you gave me so I can be here to present my research. My research title is Android-based online attendance application. So I think my slide is very less less words in. There's only pictures in my presentation, so I would like I will explain one by one and step by step with about my paper. Okay. As a lecturer, I always find attendance is one big problem. In my class, it takes 10 until 15 minutes to finish attendance activities. Why I must spend 10 until 15 minutes? Because I must calling their names one by one and they came to sign their absence list. For me, that is wasting time, but I must do that. Because if I give absence lists to the students, many possible can happen. You know, students these days, 50% of them don't want to study. 40% they always thinking about games and everything, and only 10% want to stay at class. So at first I observe why it can be one big problem. Then it comes with many questions. So the problems comes first. Why attendance is important? Because it will become an assignment. Because it will become an assessment between students and lecturers with universities. So that's why every class must have an attendance activities to control their class and to see is there any students or come or the lecture never or the lecture come to their class. That's why the attendance is important. And the second one is how to measure attendance precisely. I see the way how to measure attendance precisely is to match every schedule for class. Like example, in one class, in one schedule, there are 45 students. We count is if the 45 students came or not. So I must count one by one who's came, who's not came to my class. And for university, if I ever attend to my class, that's how to measure attendance precisely for by my point of view. And it costs many times. And the problem is there any guarantee that no cheating applies in attendance? No. I don't think so. There are any cheating applies in my class. After, if I give my present list to my students, they always assign for their friend. If I call their name one by one, they always said my friend is sick or my friend has work, so they can so he or she cannot join my class. That's one example of cheating applies in attendance. So cheating always do everywhere in my class. The fourth problem is more attendance, more papers. The answer is yes, of course. More attendance, more papers, more cost of money. That's a reliable variable. The fifth one, how much time is wasted? Like I said before, it takes 10 until 15 minutes to finish one attendance in my class. So we can count if I have 3 classes, minimum I spend 30 minutes to attendance. So that's a waste of time. The sixth one, damage and loss during attendance process. Yes. it happens like missing paper, broken ones, and the worst is the stain in your attending papers. And the top of it all, I have one big question. Why don't we use technology in absent process? So after I have these questions in my mind, I start to research, doing research for my problems. To resolve my problems, I have three things. First of all, smartphones, Bluetooth, and computers. Smartphone smartphones using by all of us. So I use the smartphone like Android or iPhone. The Bluetooth I use is Beacon. Beacon is a tool to give Bluetooth signal, and it can take take or read our Bluetooth signal from our phone. And then computers is act as a server. And this is how my flow chart or my flow of my system. First of all, lecturer come to class. And then the Bluetooth or beacon take signal Bluetooth from lecturer phone. After that, the beacon send signal take from Bluetooth beacon is verified by application from the lecture smartphone. And then the application send it to server. So it count that the lecturer has come to class and do their class. For student, first of all, students comes to my class, and then the Bluetooth or beacon take signal from their phones. After that, it verified by their application, and the application sent back to server. After the application sent back to server, the server sent back to my lecturer. So the lecturer can count and can see how many students come to his class. That's how the flow I create for my research. Now the concept designed for students. I have two concepts. First of all, for students, and the second one is for the lecturers. First of all, I'm sorry because my design is still in Bahasa, but I will translate for you guys. First, this is the main menu of the students. The students have the main menu. They have three choices. First, main menu. The second choice is their profile, and the third choice is their student. Their subject. And the main menu is the list of main menu is the information about their college, and the profile is about their profile, and then subject is the subject that what they take in per semester. After that, before they came to main menu, they must log in first. They input their username and password. The username is student ID and the password is their birthday. The application validate, and if that data is valid, the application will deliver them to the main menu. If not, it will come and report that they must report to the IT for registration. And after that, in subject, they can input what semester, and after the input what semester, it comes what subject that already take, and then one by one subject, it has the detail, the schedule, classroom, and the lecturer. Then it can detect how many times he or she has come and how many times he or she never comes to the class. This is the main concept for the students. After the students, they have the concept design for lecturers. First, there's no big difference from the students. They have main menu, lecturer profile, the subject that lecturer have take, and they have one main feature that don't have in student. That's schedule change. If the lecturer cannot attend in schedule that day, they can change by their schedule by using schedule change in their feature system application. After that, if the lecturers want to use this application for absent, they come to our class, they take input what semester, what is the subject. The subject will display what the details, and after that, the application will automatically count how many students came to his class or how many students don't not come to his class. And the last one is the schedule change. They input what semester, what subject, and why he or she, the lecturer, cannot attend his class, and then what is the schedule change. And after the lecturer change their schedule, it will automatically broadcast to their students in that class. So this is the concept design for lecturers. And the result is I have designed, this is a login page. And then this is a student profile. It comes with a profile picture, their names, student ID, and PM stands for student ID. Prodi stands for their faculties. Their department, and facultas stand for their faculties. And there's a subject detail in below their profile. The subject detail is based on what they take in semester. After that, they have the next one is subject detail, but per semester. They pick by semester. And the last one, if you can see, this is the list that only lecturer can only have. It's a list of attendance their students. This is the last one, and this is the result. And I have test my application, and it comes with good. Yeah, the students and the lecturers and universities see my application is one big resolution. So after that, I have conclusions. The first conclusion is my application was built to provide convenience between lecturers and students to carrying attendance activities. And then the second one, my conclusion is this application can help lecturer in making student attendance reports. And the report it can send to university. The third one, this application can reduce fraud committed during attendance activities, like absent their friend, or they give fake news about their friends, and etc. And then the fourth one, it reduce cost and time. We know the paper is really expensive these days. The fifth one, the conclusion is no paper damage, no paper missing, and anything can make university loss, because this application is paperless. So this is my last part. Thank you for your concern, and good morning.
Dr. Basim?
Yeah, Professor Sasmita, can you please go ahead with your questions? You will start, I will be next.
Thank you, Dr. Basim. Thank you, presenter, Mr. Panji.
Yes.
Two things. One is it is an application, so I think this is just a initial work that you have finished, and there needs to be some more developments on this work. Second is, of course, we have attendance based on Android application, attendance taken, but and it is, I understand it is a little it is upgradation from the ERP system that we already have. Yes, so the technicalities I'm not going into, but I think as a paper you need to go beyond what you have given. That should be all. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to your paper in the main publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasmita. Yeah, it's interesting, but I have one question for you. Is this kind of applications of the student attendance already used by many universities, especially here in South Korea? So my question is, what do you think is special about your application?
The special is first you can in my point of view, my application first can count how many students. It's basic, and then it can give warning to students who never come to my class or the student who not come to my class. And then in this application for next development, it can share any learning object, e-learning, and then it can share what the subject, it can share subject activities. So in my universities, there's no an application like this, but I think I know my application is not far beyond. It's far beyond perfect, but I will. Like today, the special I can say is it can give a notification to the students, and there's one more. It can give you the lecturer can give their assessment from that application, but it's for the next development.
Okay, so and also for your application, the verification method is the username and the password.
Yes.
So think about if some students give his mobile to his friend,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he give him the ID and the password, so
Yes.
that his friend can give attendance to him. So what I recommend you is try to use another verification method like fingerprint or eye print or whatever.
Yes.
Something that prove he is physically there, not
Yes.
only his mobile and his ID and password, but because username, ID, and mobile, students can give it to somebody and he can make it for him. So do you consider this thing?
Yes, I know that. That's one big. I have considered that risk. The student ID and password is the student can give to the friends. Not only using Bluetooth, I'm using the location, but my next development is for the verification. I'm using QR code that generate for every 5 minutes, and I will give and then I will attach an tools that it can scan their face or their retina. I will
Okay.
attach it in my class. So that was my next development. I must take and use that tool to verify if there any student give their student ID to their friends.
Okay, so that's good. In that case, yeah, we can overcome this problem. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Then let me ask Dr. Sasmita to invite the next presenter. Is it
I
share
invite
paper ID 11?
I invite presenter 26. The topic is integrating complete locomotive assistance and IoT-based healthcare for the disabled. This sounds like a very interesting topic since we are talking about disabled here. Welcome on board. Welcome to the forum. Presenter 26, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Ajay Veer Singh. What actually led me to create this tool was in person, I saw quite a few disabled and the elderly who had been facing many problems while moving from one place to another, whether at their home or at their public places. So let me start my presentation. So what we have here is complete locomotive assistance and IoT-based healthcare for the disabled. Why do I call it a complete locomotive assistance? It's because it can be custom made for different kind of disabilities. Like a person can may be unable to speak, a person may not have that much locomotory freedom with his hands. And mostly in developing countries like India, the wheelchairs or the things people use to move about the elderly or the disabled, they are very manual. So what we need here is we need modules that can be retrofitted into the existing hardware instead of creating a whole new one, because that is not cost friendly. That is not. So let me move on. So the prototype is developed with an intention to provide complete self-dependence to the disabled and the elderly in performing everyday work at an extremely low cost. Also, it is built to demonstrate that really simple sensors, not necessarily the industrial grade ones, with proper coding techniques, with optimization of code, with the well-tested functionality, with proper constraints on your code, it can provide a result as good as an industrial grade product. Okay, let's focus at the problem at hand. The problem at hand is the disabled, quite frankly, they are not getting the help that they deserve. With the outburst of such nice technologies, especially the Internet of Things, in my opinion, should be able to provide more for them. And there are solutions available. There are electric chairs, there are electric wheelchairs, sorry, and which can be used for their advantage, but quite frankly they are so expensive and they are not that easily available in local markets. So uh, it's quite interesting to see how a series of independent sensors which we use uh, like as a developer we use every day, and we can put them about to provide a better solution. Okay, so let's focus on the constituent module. The first one is locomotive assistance is provided by a customizable. I mentioned customizable because there may be different kind of disabilities. Accelerometer based, touchscreen enabled, or it can be controlled by someone who can see the live feed where you are sitting. The next module will be the digital home aspect. This is quite simple and quite means it's being used widely now. The lighting and cooling can be automated using the light dependent resistors or the temperature sensors. It may be proper temperature sensors along with the humidity part that they come with, or the LM35 chips to which you can you can interface an analog to digital converter and then have the measurement. Also, the digital home aspect may have another part. You can have maybe RC, you may have a remote control and you can just
One
use it.
little, just one little,
Yeah.
sorry for the interruption, one little doubt here. So this is not meant for the blind?
Sorry? Yeah, for the blind, I provided the solution in there. Like it can be, they can have remote assistance that is supported by the live feed. Yes, so that is what I could consider for them. If they can't see, let someone else see for them. So the third one is emergency alert system. So that can be under manual control, or it may have obviously the continuous monitoring will be there. It is the most basic thing when we talk about an emergency alert system. So at all times for the elderly or the disabled, their temperature and heartbeat will be getting measured. And whenever it exceeds a specific threshold, the alert system shall notify the support teams for an emergency. So obviously it involves the use of a GPS and a GSM. GSM shall have the notification, while the GPS will provide the location where the notification is coming from. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the first one is locomotive assistance with the remote aid. So obviously locomotive assistance with the remote aid, that is while there is a camera along with the Raspberry Pi attached to the wheelchair itself and the live feed is being shown somewhere. So what actually will happen is there will be two web servers at the same time. The first one will simply provide the live feed of the person, like it will show what is in front of him, so that whoever is seeing the live feed, they can direct him if they are well acquainted with the space the person is in. The other thing is the next web page they'll be getting is the controls for movement forward, backward, left and right. Also one for stop. So the Raspberry Pi camera provides the live feed over the internet over a web page. The Raspberry Pi camera, actually you have 1,000 ways to operate it. What I opted for was, I researched a bit and I opted for was there we obviously need one web server. So besides a multimedia streaming server, you actually need a web server like an Apache 5 maybe. So along with that, you'll need a multimedia streaming server. You'll need a multimedia transcoding application like FFmpeg. So what actually happens is you take the live, you start the video recording on the camera, then you use FFmpeg to create a stream of type CRTMP server. And then you include that stream using the strobe media player into the HTML code that you have. So this actually, what it actually does is it presents whatever is happening in front of the Raspberry camera. If you see there the module on an actual screen. Okay, let's move on. The next one is accelerometer control. It's quite simple. So what happens is the wheelchair shall have a headphone attached to it. So you have to place the headphone upright on your face, and with the head motion that you actually have, the wheelchair shall move on, because accelerometer, obviously, as you know, 3-axis accelerometer shall have X, Y, and Z readings. What I did was I saw the changes on the X, Y, and Z axis readings, and I controlled the motion accordingly. So the accelerometer which I actually used was ADXL 345. It's a 3-axis accelerometer. Also all the processing that I am doing, it is all on either Arduino or on Raspberry Pi. Okay. Locomotive assistance based on touchscreen controls and voice commands. This is the last one. While I feel the touchscreen is the most easily usable one, also the voice commands can turn out to be a very natural way of redirecting the wheelchair, but I have noticed one disadvantage with the voice commands. It takes time. You have to speak out. In the meanwhile, you may need to move left a little earlier, but it takes time. So what I thought was, obviously touchscreen is much more easily usable, while the voice command is also on option. I included it as an option. Also, the controls, all of these things, touch screen, voice command, and all these things I have built for both Windows applications as well as on Android. So I have this, the screenshot that you see on the right, it's for Windows application. Okay. So these are the screenshots from Android application. This is the home page. There, gesture control, button controls, voice commands. And if you go for touch screen there, so button controls, if you may say, then the second screenshot, up, left, right, and down, it simply takes, what it does is it uses your Android phone's Bluetooth technology and passes this over to the controller, which is actually controlling the motors on the wheelchair. Next one is voice control. Obviously, I'm using the Google's voice recognition because it is the best in class there is. It is my personal opinion. The opinion may change. But what I use is I use Google's voice recognition because it works very fine for both Hindi and English. And considering I'm from India, it will be very useful for people who may speak Hindi only. So they may say forward, back, left, right, or their counterparts in Hindi. Aage piche, baएं और दाएं. So the last screenshot is one from the Google speak recognition, if you may say. Okay, the next one, the digital home aspect. As I explained earlier, it may be automated. The cooling in a house and the lightning may simply be automated using temperature and light intensity measurement. The door access, the light, fan, entertainment system, every single device that runs on 220 volt or less than that, it may simply be controlled using an IR remote. If you have a TSOP sensor, you can decode it, quite frankly. Okay. Also, I had an option for that, but I did not go for it. The RF module encoding and decoding, that is radio frequency modules, because I did not need it. IR remote works fine. For every IR remote has hexadecimal codes for at least 30 different buttons, and I can code them. Last one, emergency alert system. Obviously, the monitoring will be continuous, and what I thought suitable was, it was 1 sample per second is more than enough. And whenever a specific parameter exceeds the threshold, suppose the temperature or maybe the heart rate exceeds a specific threshold, the concerned medical authorities can be alerted. They can be alerted manually as well. That is an option. What is required is LM35 temperature sensor, which I use pulse oximeter for heartbeat calculation. After that, I need GSM module for notification over message, GPS module for providing the location. Okay, here is a screenshot from the continuous monitoring system. It gives the temperature of the patient or the elderly, whoever has the IP address, or if I host it actually the web page, it can actually see what are the current levels as of now. Heart rate, alcohol levels, smoke levels, temperature, and humidity. Humidity shall be from the room, but the temperature is from the body. The gas levels, it is actually the smoke sensor that works continuously, and the alcohol levels. Last one is heart rate. Okay, so these are the screenshots from the prototyping stages while the stuff was still under construction. On the left, I was actually using processing-based code to get the exact. It could have been much easier, but I preferred to have it on a proper UI when I was testing for the X, Y, and Z axis. On the right, this module, it can be retrofitted into the existing manual wheelchairs. It is a bit untidy because it was under prototyping stages back then, and it took quite a bit of time. Initially, I used a geared motor, a 350 watt, 24 volt, 360 RPM motor I used initially, but later on I moved on to proper DC motors, shafted, because quite simply that geared motors were slow. They had higher torque, but they were slow. Okay, these are the prototyping stages from the Bluetooth receiver. On the right hand side, I actually used an OLED screen to get the temperature readings. Okay. So the conclusion simply is it is not only a locomotive aid. It enables the disabled and elderly to commute around, as well as it is a safe way of health monitoring, and just quite simply to ease their daily life. And it is quite a gateway to the digital world of endless possibilities, if you may say that. Thank you.
Dr. Basim?
Yeah, please start. I will be the next. You start, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ajay, for this presentation. This sounds like something really, having a lot of utility and really benefiting the disabled and things. One question is, what are the existing evidence based on which you have developed this? What are currently used in the world? Something that is comparable to this that you have modeled your uh, locomotive after, and we would like to know what is the difference between those models that are existing and your model. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. My answer is actually the existing models, they are all pre-existing electric wheelchairs, and they are really expensive. Means all kinds, they are really expensive. They cannot be bulk connected. Yeah, but also they do not have all the functionality. You can't opt there. They have a joystick, you can use it. That's all there is. I did quite a bit of research so that I could find some leads there, but it is not there. You have a joystick, you can use it. That's it. What if a person cannot use the joystick? So the other thing is I did not find anything where you can actually present a live feed and somebody can be controlling it from somewhere else. And obviously it is not just for the elderly. If you place it in a hospital and you need less staff, you can move them around from a live feed. So the solutions are not even solutions. Solution is there, but it is an electric chair. It is really expensive. It does not have all the functionality. It cannot be modified as per the needs. You cannot add or remove modules at will once it is sold out. Also,
So this is less expensive.
yes, obviously, ma'am, it is
And
really less. All mostly the costing is the microcontroller, which is like barely $6 or $7. And the second thing is the like which I found to be a bit expensive was actual well-working motors, but still combining all that, it is less than 1/3 of the cost of those products. Less than one
and
third.
if somebody cannot operate a joystick, is he or she still able to operate this mechanism?
Yes, obviously they have a touch screen. And it's also like if you don't have a tablet, if you need the tablet that comes along with the product, you install our application on your Android phone and it works fine. I initially
Dr.
did not
Basim,
develop the Android. I later
thank,
developed it for everyone. Yeah.
thank you, presenter. Dr. Basim.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sasmita, and thank you for your interesting presentation. It's really interesting, and it seems that you have done a lot of work. But my question here is, when it comes to the IoT, the basic idea of IoT is that devices can communicate with each other without the human interferences. So we call it machine to machine communication. So then this is the basic idea of IoT. So when we talk about this, your proposed work that is related to the IoT, and we still see that people or human have some control over the work of this machine, like touch screen and this voice command. These are human interferences. So do you have any plan to have kind only machine to machine, or the control, the entire control of the system is done automatically without the human interferences.
Yes, I actually thought of that. There are two things. The existing part that resembles IoT here is that, if you want me to explain that, is you receive a live feed and someone sitting somewhere else can actually control your hardware that is on your chair from somewhere else. Second thing is, what I want to introduce in this as a part of further research is 3D mapping. In the enclosed place the patient or the elderly is, there shall be a 3D initial 3D mapping, and you will get like, as per the need of the person, the wheelchair shall move around itself on regular intervals. For example, in a 3D mapped space, if the system is aware where the washroom is, and using maybe image recognition as well as range sensors, they can move him around and take him to the destined place.
Okay.
So it is.
Okay, interesting. Then you know that the security here is very critical issue. If somebody can have access to the network and control these people, and so how can you make or ensure that nobody can have access to the network and change the working of the system?
Yes, sure. Quite simply, what I found interesting was Raspberry Pi actually supports having the server that you have built on Microsoft Azure. So what I'm working on is Microsoft Azure provides, like, what I have seen as working as a industry professional, the security is really good. You can install really good security measures. I had been researching about it. I have not implemented it yet, but yes, I'm planning to host my CRT-MP server on an Microsoft Azure-based cloud space.
So your next plan, you will implement the security issues, right?
Yes. That's what, because yes, it is something to be met. Just login password, and because as of now, what it has is it has login ID and password for someone who want to see the feed. It's not secure. It's quite frankly.
Right.
So we have to move it to Microsoft Azure or some existing cloud-based service which has proper security if you need it.
Okay. So, but also, if we the scope of working, it can be within local network, means that you don't need to be connected to the cloud. So, did you consider such kind of scenario?
Yeah. See, local network is good for everything else except the live feed, because maybe the person who is going to control the live feed is not there in the local network. Rest everything else can be taken care of in the local network. I am okay with that, but that one thing that is really critical, it has to be there.
Okay, so thank you so much, very interesting. Now let's move to the next one. Presenter of paper ID 11, blockchain based solution for effective employee management.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, can you start?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dita Prameswari. I am from Faculty of Economics, Sultan Agung Islamic University, Semarang, Indonesia. Okay, I would like to present. This is our conceptual paper with the title is Blockchain-based solution for effective employee management. First is introduction. In Industry 4.0 brings innovation and smart manufacturers, in which one of them is digital transformation. Digital transformation also becomes an inevitable necessity, including encouraging disruption in the human resource world, in which which is it can disrupt business in various sectors such as manufacturing, services, mining, fashion, and etc. With the use of technology that we call it blockchain, the use of blockchain in the human resource management function it will updating employee skills and knowledge. At present, human resource in the company is the most valuable asset. Human resource development is an effort made to form quality personnel by having skills, work abilities, and work loyalty to a company organization. Quality human resource will help the company to further develop and achieve company goals. The human resource development of the company is a means for employees to develop their potential and increase employee knowledge in certain fields. And so this will affect the individual performance productively. In an effort to increase work productivity, a number of things are related to human resource development, namely by using a technology called blockchain. Blockchain is a database that serves to store a collection of data that continues to grow or increase. Blockchain is a potential technology behind the Bitcoin cryptocurrency because it could be able to solve a problem in achieving end-to-end transparency. Blockchain is often associated with digital currency Bitcoin because it was originally created to monitor Bitcoin transactions. Over time, blockchain technology has evolved and has now entered the human resource industry because companies have begun to use blockchain to facilitate human resource function. In addition, blockchain could have a major potential on both sides of the employment relationship, that is, from the ability in maintaining and controlling access to a comprehensive and trustworthy of blockchain-based record of their education, skills, training, and experience into genuine value if they were provided to access value-based in organization. By applying data analytically, companies will be able to match individuals to the roles accurately and effectively. This could be particularly relevant as skills requirements have changed in the fourth industrial revolution. Blockchain's ability in supporting behavioral and cultural change underway in organization and the workforce is necessary. The benefits of the individual's highly portable and up-to-date value passport will become all the greater both to themselves and employees as the trend towards the gig economy continues and younger people change jobs more frequently or opt for portfolio careers. And then the second is blockchain for employee performance. There are four main facets of blockchain. This is based on petition 2017. The first, it has been designed to distribute and synchronize across networks. And second, in blockchains, there are smart contracts, which is an agreement made by participants in advance. And to verify a valid transaction, the third characteristic of the blockchain is
all the time.
and the last, transaction that have been agreed and record can be changed and provides performance.
I asked you to call the people to present that sometimes one by one.
And then
I requested her to conclude her quotes here.
by adopting blockchain technology, it will improve security. And
How much your presentation?
There are three departments of blockchain. The first is for human resource department.
Of course,
In human resource department, it will improve quality orientation. The quality orientation is the ability to perform some tasks completely, also having an excellent quality performance, even above established quality standards. With blockchain, human resource can use to record and map the skills and abilities of employees in the company, such as knowing who employees have the right for a project. The second is marketing department. In the human resource department, can improve problem-solving skills. The problem-solving skills is the ability in analyzing a problem, identify the source of the problem and the relationship between various factors of the problem, and then formulate alternative solutions that are relevant and applicable. And then improving planning skills. Planning skill is the ability to prepare planning of work in a systematic and well-scheduled manner, to allocate resources based on the results of planning, and monitoring to ensure that the work plan can run effectively and efficient. And then teamwork. Teamwork is the ability to coordinate and communicate with various parties involved, formulate common goals, and share tasks to achieve the work goals that have been planned, and respect each other's opinions and input to improve team performance. And it can improve self-learning capacity. The ability to carry out learning activity process, both independently and in groups, shows an adequate interest in continuing to develop self skills and be proactive to share knowledge among fellow employees. The second department is marketing department. There are a number of things that can be done using the blockchain in the marketing development field are as follows. First, data on sales growth compared to the previous year. Second, customer satisfaction score. Third, total new product development. And fourth, market share and distribution of products or services. The fifth, average hours to completely resolve customer complaints. And last, rate of investment of the marketing program. And then the third is finance department. In the finance department, that can be included in the blockchain systems. There are recording transactions, financial reporting and analysis, funding, and transparent business audits. And then how to work blockchain in improving the quality of employee performance. The use of blockchain technology in the company and supply chain management field. Data and results of employees above will record in the blockchain system. Previously, employees will be given their respective servers to generate the blockchain to enter employee performance data that had been done. The work of blockchain is there are data and results of employee performance above will record in the blockchain systems. Previously, employees will be given their respective servers to get an account in the blockchain to enter employee performance data that had been done, so that each employee could input themselves what had been done in the company. So managers and other employees could see what performance result has been done and can evaluate what are the deficiencies and errors. And then employee concerned can fix it and produce maximum performance. In using the blockchain, all employees have a blockchain server and account so that it will be easy to enter data on the performance results of each. For example, financial statements and sales transaction must always be input in the system in order to reduce employee dishonesty in funding reports. Data in blockchain cannot be replaced because every server will have a copy so that it will reduce the level of fraud and fraud at work. All of information in a digital ledger has been stored in the data block, so everything that has been recorded in the blockchain cannot be changed by a unique cryptographic identifier. Therefore, every week managers will evaluate employee performance by looking at the data on the blockchain so that their quality of work will be better and improved. By using the blockchain, all employees and leaders in the company can find out the results of each performance. All employees can learn from the data that has been stored in the blockchain so that not only focus on the field of work, but also understand other fields of work. Uh, Existing and passing data on the blockchain network will be encrypted and stored copies to all blockchain network owners based on an agreement. The incoming data will later be guarded by a blockchain whose nodes are installed several parties so that it cannot be tampered with by anyone, and it's protected from various forms of data misuse due to modified data server down or hacked accounts. Transaction history that has been logged into a block will make it easier for manager to track every item, data, and loss and lack of resource. The last is conclusion. So this is the concept of blockchain for human resource. It has impact for the blockchain can impact human resource practice, especially in human resource department and marketing department and finance. So blockchain can help organization that relate to employees and managers. They are able to share and find out work experience in the company, exchange ideas, small value human resource. In that way, the company can determine what human resource development is in an effort to improve the quality of human resource performance. And also the blockchain can be used to change a company system by referring to the performance result that have been listed in the blockchain network. For example, in the field of work, there are deficiencies and challenges related to performance, and then automatically repairing the existing system in it to develop employee potential. Moreover, it can increase the profitability and credibility of the company. With blockchain, that data is stored securely, cannot be changed, and the company don't need to waste a lot of time. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. I'm sorry if I had a mistake, some mistake. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your interesting presentation. So I have one comment here about your work is it's very interesting, but I didn't see any model for the concepts that you just introduced in your work. So I was looking for the model, but I couldn't see any modeling of your concepts. So I think you should include it in your next or in the future work. And now let me call Dr. Sasmita if she has any comment or question about your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. I completely agree with Dr. Basim. This is an interesting paper and this is a new area of research, so a lot can be done. However, this initial initiative on this, So we welcome you aboard, but we expect you to go ahead with the paper with some conceptual building, some kind of basic empirical research or uh, something that will validate the paper and strengthen the paper further. Thank you, Dr. Basim. Thank you, presenter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Sasmita, please allow me to present my work now. It's the last one. And then you will also provide, you will end or close the session with your conclusion remarks about these presentations, okay? Okay, welcome everybody. This is my work. I'm working on the IoT, especially about the integration of IoT and cloud and fog computing. And here, this work is kind of review about the state of the art of research allocation in the integrated IoT, fog and cloud computing. So this is actually everybody knows that in the recent years, the number of smart devices, including the mobiles, tablets, and others, has a tremendous growth and brought along with the internet connectivity, high internet connectivity, about the emergence of the IoTs. And however, to a great extent, this rapid growth of the smart devices and communication technologies have not yet resulted in a significant implementation of Internet of Things. So one of there are many challenges actually associated with the IoTs yet to be addressed to pave the transformation to the smart world. One of the challenges is the lack of the computing resources of the IoT devices. Computing resources like the CPU, storage, bandwidth. So because these IoT devices has to collect, has to store, has to process, and has to communicate the data that they collected, and even to make the decision. So this paper presents a survey on the integration of IoT, fog computing, and cloud computing, with a focus on the state of the art of resource allocation. Also, we will talk about we'll discuss about the challenges yet to be addressed in this field or the resource allocation. Let's start with some facts about the IoT or some statistical records. So there are 7.4 million or billion, sorry, 7.4 billion people living in this planet. So there are a huge number of people, but the number of devices will be even 4 times than the number of people. There will be, or it's expected to have 30 billion devices connected to the internet by 2020. And perhaps a third of these connected devices will be computers, smartphones, tablets, and smart TVs. The remaining 2/3 will be other kinds of things or other devices, sensors, actuators, and also newly invented smart devices. Some example of these smart devices like smart doors, like smart cars, wearable devices, traffic lights, parking spot, and so on. Also, 6.58 will be the average number of connected devices per consumer by 2020, which means that people will rely on 3 to like 6.5 devices that might include the smartphones, the laptop, the tablets, and so on. Also, 44% children under the age of 1 year use the smart devices. 1.4 million number of pacemakers in use by 2023. And 50 million Fitbits exercise monitors sold in 2017. In terms of the investment, there will be more than 440 billion US dollars to be spent on the IoT by 2020. Europe or EU, they will spend 20 billion euros on the artificial intelligence by 2020. So what is IoT? Actually, the basic idea about IoT, and we already talked about it in the previous presentations, that devices, millions of devices will be connected either with a local area network or even they can be connected by internet. So it has a very short history, around 20 years. The first one who introduced this concept was Kevin Ashton in 1999. He was working in the supply chain management in Procter & Gamble. And there was the term called embedded internet or pervasive computing. But this guy, Ashton Kevin, he during one presentation, he was making presentation about the RFID or radio frequency identification. And during his presentation, he used the term Internet of Things. Since then, it becomes popular. The Internet of Things, again, it is, as you can see in this picture, all devices that we are using, they will be connected to each other, or they'll be connected to the internet to share information, to collect information, to process the information, and to do some tasks. So the symbol structure or architecture of the IoT, as you can see here, it has the device has some sensor. So the sensor needs to be connected to a network so that the gathered data can be stored and shared. And that can be either wireless, like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or it can be wired either. And then controller, they will receive the data, they will process data. If they have no capacity or the computing resources of the controller is not enough, it will send this data to the fog computing or to the cloud computing to process data and get the result back. For example, if a sensor detects excess heat in the room, so the sensor sends the temperature reading to the microcontroller. The microcontroller can send the data to an actuator, which would then turn on the air condition. The enablers elements of IoT is, the first thing is the mobile networks. So now we are in the fifth generation of the mobile network. Not really, when the mobile network started, it was only about the voice call. And then in second generation, and also the speed was low. And then in the second generation, the internet start expected to be used, but with limited functions. And also SMS. In the third generation, the speed becomes a little bit high, up to 3.1 megabit per second. And it supports the voice call, the internet, the SMS, the multimedia or MMS, and so on. And then fourth generation, it comes with high speed, up to 100 megabits per second. And it supports also calls and internet, voice calls, the SMS, MMS, and internet. And also it supports high quality contents. Now we are in the fifth generation, which has very high speed, up to 10 gigabit per second. And it supports all the features of the previous generation networks. Besides that, it will support not only mobile devices, but also other devices, the IoT devices. So this is the first enabler of the IoT. Second is the semiconductor industry, the microchips. As I think here we should talk about the Moore's law, which states that the number of transistors on a microchip will be doubled every 2 years, and the cost of computer will be halved. So we can see that from time to time, we can see small chips, but with high speed, and even the cost is not that much difficult. And also the wireless networks, including the personal area network like Bluetooth, Zigbee, and others, and also the local area network and wide area network. They are also help in the working of IoT. Also wireless networks like Wi-Fi, like WiMAX, Wipro, they are also, they can play a significant role in the IoT. And also the satellite. There are many projects launched by some companies to provide internet. Like Amazon, they have a project, they call it Kuiper. They are planning to launch 3,000 satellites to cover 95% of the Earth's population. And that will cost them billions of US dollars. Also, SpaceX, they have a plan to launch 12,000 satellites for to provide the internet. Facebook also, OneWeb, Boeing, all these companies also, they have satellites for their internet connection. Also, we should not forget the internet now. The internet makes everything available to the people. So a long time ago, the products or services take long time to reach people. Now, within a few days or within a short time, the services or the products will be available to millions of people. Let's just look back at the some technologies which has this products and how long it took them to reach 50 million users. So like the car, 62 years, electricity, 46 years, 38 years for the radio, 22 years for the TV. ATM also, it takes a long time. Computers took 14 years. Mobile phone, 12 years. And internet, 7 years. iPod, 4 years. YouTube, 4 years. Facebook, 3.5 years. And if Twitter, 2 years. Angry Bird took only 35 days to reach 50 million users. And also the this Pokemon game, it took only 19 days to reach 50 million users. Also, the revolution of the artificial intelligence or machine learning, also they can play important role in the IoT. And also the cloud computing. So the cloud computing, which is part of this work, because it will help the internet devices to process their data and to save the time, save the energy of the devices, and also to make it, and also the execution time. So it is one of the most enabler elements for the Internet of Things. And I think, as we talked in the previous presentations, that cloud computing is it can support all the functions of the IoT devices. So the cloud is just simply a collection of servers, or they call it data centers, connected to store, analyze data, and also to provide access to online applications and provide backup services for personal and also corporate use. The other type of computing, which is, we call it the fog computing, and the fog computing is, it is kind of intermediate between the end user devices or the IoT devices and the cloud computing devices. Because we told that IoT, there will be millions or billions of devices will be connected, and there will be huge of data will be generated by these devices, and this data has to be processed and also stored and communicated between the devices. So with the rising number of these sensors used by the Internet of Things, there is a need to store the data securely and also closely to the end users. This analyzed data can then be used quickly and effectively to update or modify processes within the IoT devices. So if you look at this figure, it shows an example of smart city and how sensor data is processed. So the fog computing, which is located at the edge or near to the IoT devices, and also there is a kind of sensors in the traffic line. So they call it the network traffic monitors. This sensor, they capture the data, and if they have the capacity to process this data, they just process it and take the decision. Otherwise, it will send it to the fog computing to analyze the data and get back the result. So the integration of IoT, fog, and cloud computing now is with this emergence of the IoT devices, researchers or many projects, studies emphasized on the strong need of integrating IoT, fog, and cloud computing. So from the various research, because this work is, I was trying to find out the reasons or what is the strength that this cloud computing and fog computing will bring to the IoT devices. So the previous researchers acknowledge that the integration of cloud computing and fog computing and IoT can be as a visible solution to overcome the limitation of the computing resources of the IoT devices. So by leveraging the computing resources of the cloud and the fog computing, it will not only help the IoT devices to have timely processing of their data, but also for the security issue, and also for the reliability and availability of the data that will be processed. So in this regard, we have to emphasize on the resource allocation issue. So how to allocate these computing resources to the IoT devices. So the resource allocation has become a hot topic and has gained significant attention from the researchers and also from the industry. But so far, there is no one platform that can be used as standard for this integrated environment, IoT, fog, and cloud computing. If you look at this figure, it shows the architecture. It consists of 3 layers. Each layer has its different computing resources. So the IoT layer comprises the things or the devices or end users' devices. The fog computing, where computing resources are located nearby the IoT devices. And at the top, we have the cloud computing, which provides an internet-based computing resources that can be used to extend the computing resources of the IoT and also of the fog computing. Also, the cloud computing, because it has much more powerful computing resources, again, it can be used to extend the fog computing. The state of the art of research allocation of IoT, fog, and cloud computing, there are so many frameworks about the integration of this environment during the last few years. Most of the frameworks focus only about the IoT and cloud, or maybe IoT and fog only. So, so far, this platform or framework didn't consider the integration of the 3, the IoT, fog, and cloud computing. So also, some of the work considered the research allocation in IoT, cloud, or fog, not all of them. However, only one work I could find considered the resource allocation in the IoT, cloud, fog environment. So in that work, the researcher proposed an architecture of IoT service delegation and resource allocation, based on the collaboration between the fog and cloud computing. Also, one of the issues related to the resource allocation is the load balancing. And also, there are many work proposed in this related to the load balancing. Some of them are static. They use static method for the resource allocation. And some of them, they use dynamic service offloading or migration. But only they considered the devices that is located in the fog computing. And also, the optimization of the resource allocation is another issue, which is about maintaining the quality of the service and to maximize the profit for the cloud providers and also for the fog computing providers. Limitations of the work or the previous work, again, as I mentioned before, many researchers have proposed dynamic resource allocation methods in the context of the cloud and or the edge computing, but none of these works considers the integration of IoT, fog, and cloud computing. So it is worthy also to mention that also there are many frameworks have been proposed to build an IoT for cloud ecosystem. There is no common methodology to integrate all of this. And as many IoT applications have common requirements, more effort should be spent to come up with a generic and flexible platform that could be the starting point of defining a standardized workflow or platform. The challenges for this resource allocation in the IoT, fog, and cloud computing is that the dynamic nature of the IoT devices should be considered. We call it the IoT device or the user's context. So for the effectiveness or for the effective resource allocation, decision making in the IoT for cloud environment, the IoT device or user's context, such as the mobility and his available resources in his device, should be considered with an attempt to consider all the factors that influence the quality of the service. And another challenges is the cost. So in addition to the IoT device context, the resource allocation decision making should consider different costs associated with the offloading, like energy cost, communication cost, even the time cost. It should be also considered. And also, one of the challenges is the business model. So the IoT, cloud computing, and fog computing, there will be lots of or many providers. Everyone has its own resources and has its own pricing model and business model. So we need to have integrated or one business model that can bring all these providers to collaborate or to be together. And the last is the dynamic challenges of the IoT for cloud computing environment, because here the IoT devices has to make adaptive resource allocation decisions at the runtime, timely. So there is no, without any delay. So therefore, we have to come up with multi-objective resource allocation platform that can help to discover the resources, to allocate the resources, and also to monitor the environment. So this or the effectiveness of the decision-making process for the resource allocation, it highly depends on how the resource allocation mechanism deals with the dynamic nature of the IoT devices and also the available resources in the fog and also in the cloud. Therefore, the resource allocation framework should consider the IoT devices requirement and also the application requirements, because devices, they are different and also they have different applications. So any framework for the resource allocation should consider this heterogeneity of the devices and also their applications. So that's the last thing about my presentation. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Dr. Sasmita? Hello?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Wasim. That is, after a long time, very lucid, very comprehensive presentation on, you've also integrated 3 different layers of fog, cloud fog and IoT, and very lucidly presented to anybody who's looking at your presentation to get an understanding of all the aspects of IoT. So that is commendable, and congratulations, Dr. Basim.
Thank you so much. So any question from the presenters?
Yes, sir. There I have like it's not per se a doubt, but I want to know your opinion on it. Considering these three layers working together, let's leave apart the IoT layer. But isn't it a good framework to actually have our storage and the web server on the cloud, and just distribute the computing resources in the fog? Isn't this how the distribution should work? Computing resources in the fog and storage and the web server on cloud, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a good solution because if we think about the time, some like or timely sensitive applications, which has zero tolerance. I mean, timely solution should be provided. So if the device depends only on the cloud, so that might take a little bit long time. There will be some kind of delay. So let's have one scenario. If you have an event and there are 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 at the same time, everybody is live on video sharing at the same time. I don't think it is a good solution to rely on the cloud because maybe the server is quite far from that event. So what is the solution for the fog computing is to provide servers nearby this event, and these servers can handle all these requests from the devices around or in that place. So that's why they introduced this fog computing to be an intermediate layer between the end user and the cloud computing. It will save time, and also it has the same, almost same computing resources of the cloud. But the good thing about it is more close to the end user. So this is the point of having this fog computing in between the end user and the cloud computing.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another like really simple one here. Instead of building a web server and a database server on our own and having a very limited computational capability of our microcontroller, our local microcontroller or a microprocessor if we have one, isn't it much better to have the existing resources that are there, like the Facebook's Graph API? We can make API calls, store data there, and we can simply communicate over the data which we store on Facebook or the data which we store on other social networking sites. They have a framework of uh, communicating data really fast on their end. They have servers. So isn't it better to, instead of building our own servers, our own database, local or a cloud-based database, instead of that we can use those? So
Exactly. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, that's the point. So it will have more. You will have supercomputing with low cost. Even the cost, it will be even cheaper. If we think about the cost, even for the cloud computing, it will be much cheaper than having them locally.
thank you, sir.
So you will have the good quality, same quality, or even much better with the cheaper price. Again, the cost will be, you don't need to invest on the servers. You just rent the server from the cloud and use it. Instead of invest lots of money to buy the server, and you need also engineers, you need also developers, you need IT people, you need maintenance to take care or to handle this IT infrastructure. You can just go to the cloud and rent based on your usage, how much you need, you just use it. That's the point of the cloud computing.
Yes, sir. I agree to the cloud part, but because they have web services which they do not actually portray as a cloud service, but we could use them. I tried using Facebook's APIs. What you can actually do is you can access a chat which is there on a group, and if somebody types light on there, you can read that string from there in your code, and you can have your home automation like that.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's.
I found that to be. I wanted to know your view to use a existing applications API to have our communication.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Basim?
Good point. Yes.
Dr. Basim, given this new kind of resource allocation that you're talking about, can we think ahead of the expected managerial challenges that we are going to face?
So expected what?
The challenges that the managers are going to face in this case, in this kind of resource allocation.
Yeah, we mentioned about the dynamic nature. So the resource allocation should be on time. So the devices, they change their behavior. The resources are they will be changed. The request will be changed. So this the resource allocation, before you allocate the resource, you have to find out the available resources, and then you have to allocate the resources to the computing to the available resources and optimize it. And also you have to consider the dynamic nature. This is the most challenges, because if you think about smart cars, smart car is one of the applications of the IoT. So in smart car, the cars will each exchange, they will have sensors, they will exchange information with each other, and then they will avoid any kind of accidents or congestion in the traffic. So if there is a lack of communication, or the resources that will be allocated to manage or to handle the request of these smart cars around, there will be some delay in processing, and such kind of delay will result in some accident. So that's why if we can manage to process the IoT devices in a very short time, that will be much better. So the dynamic challenges of the IoT for cloud environment is one of the big issues in this environment. We call it the IoT for cloud computing. So this also the business model now, because these resources are not free. People, they have to pay for that. But the resources that will be providers, the servers and others, belongs to providers. Though these providers are different. There are many providers. So they should have a business model, how to share the revenue, and how to allocate the resources to these different providers. This is also another issue, another challenges. So far now, there is no any standard business model that can integrate all of this, share the revenue, optimize the resource allocation for all these devices and the resources. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Basim. Before we conclude the session, Dr. Basim.
It's yours. Now, please give the conclusion remark.
The session has, thank you, Dr. Basim. The session has, the fourth session has been wonderful with all technological inputs we have had from the inputs have ranged. The range of inputs has been quite a great span, that is ranging from employee management, recruitment, selection. We had presenters presenting on how to use IoT or blockchain in recruitment selection. We had presenters presenting on employee management based on blockchain usage, and two applications oriented presentations were there. One from how to improve classroom teaching with improving attendance. The other one was actually developing an application on how to help disabled community. So amazing presentations with a range of topics, with a beautiful end topic of integrating all this into integrating all this IoT-based solutions with how IoT is helpful in integrating resource allocation and how to we think about what terms of the state now and how far we have proceeded, what questions. I congratulate all the present. Thank profusely my co-chair, Dr. Basim, and the organizers for arranging such a beautiful conference. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations all the presenters. Please go ahead with your research papers. This all seem to be very promising for the future. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Sasmita. Just to remind you, so we are going to have the opening ceremony at 1:30. So please try to join us, okay?
Thank you.
So you have the link, so please try to join at 1:30, okay? So thank you all. Thank you to all presenters for their work, and also thank you to Dr. Sasmita for being the co-chair of this session. We are so happy to have all of you here and looking to see you in the opening ceremony. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.